Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Gary King. Okay, I don't usually put out 2 videos in 1 week, but in this case, I'm going to, just because this is sort of building off of the last video that I did. And in fact, I probably won't even call this one video 15. I'll probably call it video 14.1. Just because it directly relates to that information. So, as you noticed, in the last video, I demonstrated how using the numbers and the code created what is known as the flower of life or the flower of creation. And I demonstrated or shown in the video the crop circle that had the same design. Now, last night I was looking at this, much deeper and just kind of really looking at the picture, and I don't know why I didn't see it before. And to the best of my knowledge, no one else has noticed it, but it's not an exact match. Okay. So heart kind of sank when I saw that. However, the actual flower, the actual physical, well, not physical, but the actual representation of the flower of life, flower of creation, can be produced from the code. Okay. So that part's exciting. And it's interesting what it does. Okay. So let me just go ahead and pull this up. So here's the crop circle that I showed in the video. And actually it was a different photograph. It was this one here, which I need to bring to the front so you guys can see it. So it's the same crop circle. It's just shot from a different angle. This one that I'm looking at right here, it's more straight down. So what I was noticing is the number of petals don't line up. They don't match. So that was the disappointing part. But don't be too disappointed, because it actually is formed from the numbers. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. Okay. So let me just point this out real quick. So if you notice here, we have what is almost equal. It's slightly slanted. These 2 petals, this one here and this one over here. And so if we were to count up from this one, we'd go 1, 2, 3, and then there's an empty area, 4, 5, 6, back to the other side. But if you look at the actual image here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. It's similar, but it's not exact. But it will be. It will be. And this is very cool what this actually does. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken the infinity symbol. It's built exactly the same way that I showed in the last video. So I haven't changed anything as far as this portion of it. Okay. And I've made multiple copies, and they're stacked on top of themselves. So if I just click this and move it off, you can see that there's one there. And again and again. Okay. So it's just, they're stacked on top of one another for this demonstration. Now, for those of you who have been paying attention and have been watching these videos from the very beginning, this was in the second video. So the first video was more of the introduction of how all of this started. And then the second video was me unpacking all of this information for you. What I had actually had up to that point. So what we're going to do is go back to the very beginning. And if for those of you who've been following along, if you recall, one of the things that I did when I was trying to figure out these numbers, what they meant, what they did, what they represented, excuse me, my allergies are kicking my ass today. But one of the things that I wanted to do was see what would happen if you took the first number that was generated and added it to the second number. Okay. By doing so, we get this number 112111. Then, using the key of taking the last 4 digits and adding the remaining, it produces the number 2222. Then taking that number, adding it to the next number, you get 223111. Use the key of the last 4, take the remaining, and then you wind up with 33, 33, and so on. As demonstrated, it goes down to 9999, and then it comes back to a number that can be brought back to 1111. Now, these numbers were going up and down by 37. That's what I based this off of in the last video. Okay. Actually, it should have been based off of this sequence of numbers. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's just play it out here. All right. So the sequence is 1111, 2222, 3333, 4444, 5555, so on. Those are the numbers that we're going to plug in. And something very unique will happen as I do this. So just watch. All right. So the first number that we're going to use for the angle of rotation is 1111. Now, notice straight away, it changes the number to 31. Okay. So 3 and 1 is 4 when you reduce it down. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 up here at the top. I'm going to come back, select another one, and we're going to rotate it by 2,222 degrees. All right. See how it changes it to 62, and 6 and 2 is 8. So I'm going to put 8 here. Grab another petal. This one we're going to rotate 33, 33. See how it changes it? Excuse me. God, these allergies. Changes it to 93. Well, 9 and 3 is 12. And then that becomes 3 because 1 and 2 is 3. All right. I'm going to grab the next one. I'm going to do 44, 44. And it changes the number to 124. So 4 and 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. All right. And let's see what we had. 11, 11, 22, 22, 30. Okay. So the next one's going to be 55, 55. All right. And that produces the number 155 degrees. So 5 and 5 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. And then we're going to reduce that one down. Typically, you don't reduce 11 down, but we're going to. So 1 and 1 becomes 2. And you'll see why here in just a moment, why I'm doing it this way. But now look at what we have. This is, let me go grab that image. This is an exact replica. And actually, let me just select all of this and move it over to the side. As you can see, we have the petals on the side, both sides, just like we have here. And we count up 1, 2, 3, 4. just like we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it is the exact number of petals. It is an exact replica of the flower of life, the flower of creation. How freaking cool. Okay. Now, before, I saw the symbol, recognized the similarities, and immediately, I showed it to a couple of other people, and everybody, showed it to a couple of friends, and they immediately said, that's the flower of life. That's the flower of, of creation. And, I looked it up. Yeah. But I wasn't my fault. I'll totally own it. Not looking at it super, super close. But as I looked at it last night, I realized it's not an exact match. But now it is. Now it is. Still based off the numbers generated from the code. How freaking cool is that? Okay. But we have these numbers up here. So what do these represent? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Keep in mind, we stopped at 5555. All right. But that sequence of numbers is taking us all the way to 999 and then 1111 with a 0 at the end. And then it goes to 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, which of course, when those are using that code, they're brought back to 1111, 22, 22, 33, 33. But in this particular instance, the code or this encoding that's taking place, why? Don't ask me. I have no idea. But it seems to be instructing us not to bring these numbers back to 1111 and 2222. Okay. And I'll show you why. So again, we stopped at 5555. Going to come back over here, select it. The next number should be 6666. Okay, that gives us the number 186. So 1 and 8 is 9, 9 and 6 is 15, and 5 and 1 is 6. Okay, so we're going to put 6 there. All right, and then that means the next number is going to be 7777. That changes the angle to 217 degrees. 7 and 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 10 reduces to 1. We're going to put 1. Whoops, don't want to select that one. Select this one. Next one's going to be 8888. And that changes the angle to 248. So 8 and 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14, and 1 and 4 is 5. All right. And then we're going to have 9999. And that gives us the number 279 degrees. So 9 and 7 is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18. And 1 and 8 is 9. Okay. This is actually completing a number, but as you can see here, it's not completing, because what we're winding up with is 2 flowers of life or flowers of creation sort of sitting on top of one another, but slightly rotated as well. Now, if I was to use the code as demonstrated here of taking the last 4 and adding the remaining and bring this back to 1111, well, if I rotate this next one to 1111, it's going to sit right on top of the first 1111 rotation that I did. So we actually need to leave the 0 there. Watch. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. See, it put it right where it needed to be and changes the number to 3, 1, 0, which gives us the number 4. So then that means that based off of this sequence, the next one needs to be rotated using the number 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. All right. So let's just go ahead and put that in. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. It places it right where it needs to be, changes the number to 3, 4, 1. So 3 and 4 is 7. 1 is 8. Okay, so we have 48. As you can see, if I keep going, it's going to start to reproduce this whole entire number again. But what is unique about this number? 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. I've talked about it before. I've talked about it in the very beginning. It is the sequence to which these numbers, when reduced, okay, see we get, so 11, 11 becomes 4 because 4 ones is 4. Then 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, which reduces to 3, okay, and so on. So we get the sequence 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. Remember, 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. It's the exact same numbers. Exact same numbers. But keep in mind, we used these numbers to rotate the pedals. And the program, because it's rotating around a center, you have to think about it, it's rotating around a center point. There's 360 degrees is a full circle. So the program is going to automatically say, okay, well, there's no possible 1,111 degrees that I can rotate. I can only rotate within 360. So it's going to rotate once, twice, a third time, and then the fourth time it's going to get it to where it needs to go. Okay. And then it changes the angle of degree. Now, it's just interesting to me that once the angle number has been changed, reducing that number down lines up perfectly with this number, which led us to the Vedic square. Yeah. That right there, folks, as far as I'm concerned, shows again how intricately encoded this is. I mean, yeah, I thought yesterday was mind-boggling, or whenever it was, the other video I did, I thought that was mind-boggling because it was based off of the rotation of 37 in sequences. It is interesting that by doing so, we got what looked like the flower of creation, and then the 2 overlapping pentagrams within that. But this sequence actually forms accurately the flower of life, flower of creation, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And it's unique, in my opinion, that by completing that sequence, we get a dual flower of life, flower of creation. It's like a duality. Now, who knows what this necessarily represents, the fact that we have 2 of them. It could be indicating so many different things. It could be indicating, the reality that we think we're in versus the reality that we're actually in. Don't know. I mean, that's just one interpretation. Now, it is Also interesting that getting to the number 5555, that is what actually completed the first flower. Okay. And there's something interesting, to me at least, that I think is concerning the number 5. So as you can see over here, I have this equation set up. And I just want to kind of walk you through this. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9. But the way this is set up, 9 and 1 are companions, because 9 and 1 equals 10, which reduces to 1. 8 and 2 is 10, which reduces to 1. 7 and 3 equals 10, which reduces to 1. And 6 and 4 equals 10, which reduces to 1. 5 is the only number that doesn't have a companion. There's no number left other than itself to produce 10 to get to 1. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And I was just kind of formulating this thought in my head that what if 5, because if you notice, remember the pentagram is a 5-pointed star. If this is also kind of indicating or tied into this story of, or not maybe story, I don't know if that's the right word, but like this sort of representation of Lucifer, okay? Like 5-pointed star, the pentagram inverted, and it's like 5 has no companion. It's like 5 is cast out of this kingdom where every other number has a companion. That brings it back to the one source, okay? But also by doing this, these numbers produce the number 1111. Now, in order for 5 to do the same thing, it would have to know how to duplicate, replicate itself, okay? And maybe that's what this is also indicating. And by doing so if it's duplicating itself and we get 10, which reduces to 1, we wind up with a sequence of the 5 1s, the very same number that produces the phrase, where is it? We are in an artificial matrix. We are slaves. We are being punished. We are being further tested and tried. Like silver, 7 times in the fire, the few and refined shall rise. Is this further proof, validation that yes, we are living within a simulated reality? One of these is real, the other one's not. I don't know. And the fact that it produces that sequence 483726159, which through the Vedic square produces this symbol, which is a symbol for the sun. Yeah. Now, let's go back. Let's just start removing some of these and get it back to just the single flower shape. Okay. Now I'm going to do like I did yesterday by selecting all those, because I want you to look at the blue lines, the bounding box lines that make up these shapes. So I have them all selected. And and I'm going to hit ungroup so that I can actually change the opacity of those lines. I should have done this the last time. But by changing the opacity, I can actually see the blue lines and I'm not being hindered by the black lines on top of it. All right. So what I'm going to do is take a screenshot of that. And let's just see. Lost my screenshot. Where'd it go? Hang on just a moment. It went somewhere on my desktop, but I've got so much crap. Okay, here we go. All right. So that's the screenshot I just took. Now, remember, the last time we got the pentagram, but we're not going to get that this time. Let's zoom in. Add a line. Let's just make it red. Add a slight bit of thickness to it. And I want to show you one of the multiple symbols that we'll get. All right. Just bear with me for a second. Okay. So you can see we get a triangle. And this is what is actually really cool. You'll see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. You can probably already start to see what is actually forming here. How many of you have already called out the Star of David? It's also called the Star of Creation or the Creator's Star. So how cool is it that we're getting the Star of Creation, the Creator's Star, inside the flower of life, the flower of creation? Okay. It's pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool. Now, but as you can see, there's other crossing points here. So we could actually get more geometric shapes out of this. So let's just stretch this one up to here and down to here. Let's stretch this one over. This one over to here. This one up to that. Where just, it's just where these lines cross, okay? Move that one down. Let's extend this one out. This one over. This one down. And up. And let's move this one up. And extend that one down. All right. Now, let's just duplicate that one. And we need to move it over like so. We're going to move this one down to match it to there. And actually, we can just copy this one and move it over. And I think we can copy this one and move it over. And then now we just need this one here. So let's just copy that, place it there, and move it down. Zoom out. It's going to move. Nope, there was one I'm missing. It should be this point here. And make sure it connects. I mean, check that out. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. And you know, this is it's a star, but so is the sun. You know, we look up, it never dawns on us, most of us, when we look up in the sky every day and see the sun, that we're looking at a star. But that's exactly what it is. And moving it back, you can see how it perfectly lines up. And uniquely, right here in the center is a circle with 12 distinct areas, exactly like this for the zodiac. Again, and remember, this also, it's a symbol for the sun, showing it moving through the sky, just like Micah talks about in his novels, and in his presentations, that it's an allegory of the zodiac, the sun, SUN/SON, moving through all of these signs of the zodiac. How freaking cool. I mean, for real. It's, I mean, it's, wow. I mean, it's just so freaking mind-boggling that to see these connections being made, you know. And I mean, I was super excited when I saw it, you know, in the last video, but, you know, and then immediately disappointed, obviously, for obvious reasons, when, you know, I really sit down and examine this image and realize, no, they don't match. They don't match at all. But then figuring out that the code actually does produce this. And you saw exactly what I did. Exactly what I did. I haven't stopped this video. There's no edits. There's no jump cuts. There's no fast forwarding. And it clearly, not on this screen, because this is the one that I showed the other day, but it clearly is exactly the same. I mean, it's just so freaking cool. I mean, I can't get over it, you know. It's just for it to actually literally form that symbol gave me hope that it, you know, again, in that moment when I realized it didn't match up, that whole feeling of doubt, you know, sets in, and it's like, crap, you know. And then to realize, I almost feel like it's very similar to the fat finger mistake that I made. Remember when, you know, I talked about the binary code and going through that I had fat fingered the numbers because I was doing it all by hand, and the numbers past a certain point they changed from coming back to 1111 to coming back to 5 ones. And then of course that sent me down this whole entire other rabbit hole, led me to, you know, Credit Suisse Bank and, you know, all that crap. And then only to discover that I made a mistake. There was an error. That's exactly kind of. I didn't necessarily make a mistake in what I was doing, but I made a mistake by comparing this to this when it's not exactly the same. But the new calculation, the new formula that I just showed you is spot on. Spot on, 100%. Let's just walk it through again really quick. Just go ahead and punch in these numbers. And again, I'm basing it off of 1111, 2222, 3333, 4444, and so on. And the last one, 5555. And boom. And let's just go ahead and copy this again. Put it over here. Move this off to the side. And really, I bet if I took this and grouped it together, bring it to the front, and shrunk it down, I bet we could get it to, whoops, not the image, the flower. Look at that, folks. I mean, it probably needs to be slightly rotated, but let's just see. Yeah, there we go. Look, I mean, that's, there you have it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's incredible. It is incredible. So, yeah, that moment of doubt that set in has now gone away, and I'm super, super excited to see what else comes out of these numbers. So, and like I said in, earlier in one of my videos, if I make a mistake, if I make an error somewhere along the way, I'm going to own it. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to just brush over it and pretend like it never happened. So, and again, technically I didn't make a mistake, but the mistake, I didn't make a mistake in the creation of what I was doing in the last video. The mistake was comparing it to this image when it wasn't an exact match, because I just didn't take the time to, and again, I own that, to really focus on this and say, bam, it's exact. I mean, at first glance, yes, it looks like it, but it wasn't. But now it is. And it was generated from this 1111 matrix code. Okay, so that's it, folks, for now. Again, this will just be kind of a continuation of the last video, but I wanted to get the information out there. And like I've told you guys, anytime something new comes up, I'm going to release it to you. So there you have it. All right, folks, until next time, take care. Have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Bye-bye.